Erebus bowed to the crowd, facing the applause of fists thudding against bare chests. The deactivated Crozius in his hand was flecked with blood. First blood. And ever the dignified victor, Erebus offered a hand to help Skane up from the deck. The sergeant took the proffered hand, gripping it with his new augmetic limb. "A fine bout," the first chaplain said. The World Eater still hadn't had his throat mechanics repaired, leaving him speechless, but he grinned and nodded in place of words, and moved back into the crowd. Delvarus stepped forward. So did Kharn. The crowd on the edge of cheering at the first warrior fell silent at the sight of the second. The captain said 2 words to the Triari centurion. "Let me." Delvarus saluted and backed away. "First blood?" Erebus asked. The axe in Kharn's hand was Gorechild, toothed by Mica dragons and once thrown from the hands of a Primarch. He'd chained it to his bare wrist in imitation of the Nucerian gladiators, whose bones he'd seen and honored mere days before at Deshelica Ridge. The captain was stripped to the waist, as were all warriors present. "Sanguis extremis," Kharn said. Some of the crowd breathed in, showing their shock as the humans they once were. Others laughed or cheered. More fists beat against chests. Erebus regarded Kharn with cold, composed eyes. Several seconds beat in silence before the word-bearer's lips curled in a soft, indulgent smile. "Bold, Kharn. Gorechild revved for the first time since his rebirth, eating air with the throaty snarl of an apex predator. That interruption was the only answer Kharn would give, and Erebus raised his crucius in reply. "Come, then." 3 blows. The first, Kharn smashed them all aside with the flat of his new axe. The second, he cannoned a headbutt into Erebus's nose, breaking cartilage with a wet crunch. The third, Gorechild tasted first blood, ripping across the chaplain's chest, carving a canyon of flesh over the dense subdermal armor of the warrior's black carapace torso implant. All of this happened in the time it took Erebus to blink. No one could move as fast as Kharn moved. No one human, and nothing mortal. The chaplain threw himself backwards, Crozius up high to guard. Kharn walked forwards, gunning Gorechild's trigger. The crowd was silent now. This was a Kharn they'd never seen, not even on the field of battle. Another 3 blows, delivered with the same blinding speed. Erebus's maul clang-skidded across the deck. He took a fist to the throat and a boot to the stomach, knocking him back with enough force to send him crashing into the blood-stained iron grillwork. He looked up at Kharn from the ground and saw his death in the World Eater's eyes. He'd never seen this before, not in any of the paths of possibility. It couldn't be happening. It couldn't end like this. He was Destiny's hand. Kharn looked down at him, clearly allowing time for the chaplain to recover his Crozius. "Get up!" Erebus rose, his mace in his hands again. He attacked this time, showing the speed and skill that had allowed him to hold his own against Lucius of the Emperor's Children and Loken of the Old Lunar Wolves. His Crozius trailed killing lightning, buzzing furiously as it thrummed through empty air again and again. Kharn weaved aside from every blow, quicker than a blink, surely quicker than muscles could ever allow. Their weapons crashed together. Kharn had parried the last blow. Erebus expected accusation in the World Eater's eyes, or surely anger. He saw neither. Worse, he saw a bored indulgence. The captain even sighed. 3 more blows. Erebus was on the deck before he knew how. Pain flared across his chest, hot and urgent, matching the thick throb of his smashed face. He reached to touch the wound with a hand that was no longer there. His hand. His hand was on the deck, several meters away. Blood leaked from the chewed veins nestled in the meat of his severed limb. Turning unbelieving eyes downwards, he saw where his arm now ended at the wrist. "Going to need an augmetic for that," Kargos said from the crowd. Several warriors laughed, but few with any real relish. They were too fascinated by what was unfolding. Erebus looked up at Kharn again. He was just waiting. Get up! The chaplain rose. Kharn didn't wait this time. 3 blows were bloody blurs of whining motors and tearing chain teeth. Pain bloomed across Erebus's body, and he was face down on the deck again before he'd managed to fully rise from the last time. Even without his armor's pain nullifiers and chemical stimulants, Erebus suppressed the pain by whisper-chanting a sacred mandala. Kharn interrupted it. Get up! Erebus actually tried, but he froze when he felt Gorechild's teeth against his spine. The idling chain blade was purring and breathing out its Promethean fuel stink, the axe's steel teeth kissing Erebus's vertebrae. Never, not even in fragmentary glimpses, had he foreseen this duel. It couldn't end like this. He couldn't die here. There was so much to do. Sickness prime. Terror herself. In all the 10,000 futures, Erebus had seen himself fighting the long war to the very last. The very same second Erebus reached for the ritual knife at his belt, with his remaining hand, Kharn pulled the chain axe's trigger. There should have been a scream. Everyone expected it. Every warrior present waited to hear the first chaplain of the Wordbearers shriek as Gorechild bit into his flesh. But there was nothing beyond the rotating whine of an axe blade chewing empty air. No one seemed surprised at the display of Wordbearer's sorcery. Even fewer were surprised at the cowardice. Kharn turned from the blood marking the deck, leaving the circle without a word.